Hey there, YouTube. It's me, Broken Terrain, and I've got an amazing video for you today. I take a dollar store figurine and I turn him into this incredible Warbeast. Check it out. I'm going to show you right after the drop. If you've perused the toy aisle in a Dollar Tree lately, you're most certainly to have seen the Final Faction action figures. They've got a lot of heroes, and they've got some really cool villains. And this is one of the bad guys, a Brute, Karn or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, boy oh boy is he really cool looking. He's got kind of a silly looking tiny head, but I'm gonna fix that. I'm just checking him out, looking at what kind of pose I can do, because I want him to look kind of animated and really cool. I've got these wooden discs I picked up from one of the hobby shops, and I'm gonna use one as a base. Before I hot glue him down, I'm just gonna go around and clean up the edges, trim him up a little bit, and one of the legs isn't sitting quite right, so I decide to just pull him apart. He's held together by two Phillips screws. There was an issue with some of the plastic on one of the legs, and after I cleaned it up, I screwed just the legs back together with the body, leaving the arms separate. I like the idea of having him posed in stride, and I put down a little torn cork as some flat stone that he was stepping on. This is going to make the stride a little less pronounced and add a little more believability to the pose. I'm going to hot glue that second foot down, and I make it when I paint it and flock it, I make it look as though his foot is dragging through the grass and ripping up soil. It ends up looking really cool. Onto the arms. I didn't want to put the arms back as they were. I wanted the shoulders I wanted the arms to kind of flare out more, a bit more like the beast was getting ready for action, and they wouldn't do that being screwed in where they normally were. So I cut the knob off, and then I apply some hot glue, and then kind of prop the arm up on the shoulder there. And this worked incredibly well, surprisingly well. I don't know why, but hot glue bonded really well to this figure, and it made it an absolute joy to work on. I go back in with the hot glue gun, fill in the cracks and crevices, and add bulk, because you don't want the arm connected in just such a small portion for several reasons. One, it'll make the miniature or the beast you're creating very breakable, and two, it doesn't look realistic. You want to have that bulk, make it look as though the arm is actually attached to that torso. Because the hot glue is working so well, I use it to fill in a lot of the offending toy cracks and crevices for where things move. And then it was time to move on to the head. Like I said, I hate this tiny little head. I really like the big tusks, but I hate the head itself. It looks a little silly, and I tried a few options. Oh man, that looked awful. I tried a few options to fix the head, and ultimately I went right back to hot glue. I stuck the head back on and then built up areas of the actual toy with layers of hot glue. So I gave it a bigger, more pronounced jaw, a jaw line. I fixed the brow a little bit, and then I gave it some bulk in the back of the head, a bit more of a cranium or skull effect. And this works wonders. I'm extremely happy with the look this provided. The head looks much more to size with the beast, and I'm very happy. Man, the fact that hot glue adhered so well to this creature, it was so much fun to work on. fun fact, this fella here was a scramble to come up with a video for this week. My intention was to get the mill done, and man, I'm patching and springing leaks and patching and springing leaks. So in the meantime, this fella came up, and I'm so glad it did. I absolutely love how it looks, how it turned out, and I always love mining the dollar store for these perfect crafts. Once the glue dries, I tap it and mess with it just a slight bit with the hot nozzle of the hot glue gun, and this is going to add a texture so it's not nice and smooth, and it looks more like this kind of mutated skin that the action figure presents. And then it's on to making the harness, and the key to this is that it looks real, that it looks like this is actually this platform harness that this beast is carrying. So I start with two like upside down J shaped pieces of a thick cardstock, lay one down over each shoulder, and then I hit the back with two braces. Then I'm going to attach some chain to one end of the J, wrap around the chest, and attach to the back of the other J. And this is going to make it look as though the whole harness is chained on the beast, and this is what keeps it in place while it makes these great strides across the battlefield. And then, just to add a bit of realism, I'm going to add these decorative like half circle beads. It's going to look like big bolts or rivets. And if you wanted to, depending on your army, you could say these bolts were bolted clean into the beast itself as a means of enslavement or control. For my fella here, he's just wearing it. He's just going to wear it. Then you hot glue some craft sticks down. I've already textured these with a sharp rasp, and it's going to give it a nice texture. It's going to look really good at this scale. Then I'm going to glue some cross beams, and this is going to create the structure for the platform. I have to trim the middle one down so that I can fit it in that shoulder gap there, but just a little bit of creative trimming with my snips. Glue it up right there. Glue one to either side. And now you've got this great 3-board platform to just start gluing boards upon. And then I thought, man, that'd be really cool if this platform had a little armor for our creature. So I took a little chip and trimmed a couple pieces out for a shoulder, added it to some chain. So the chain is attached to the platform, and then it rests on the beast's arm, and then glued everything down. I really like the way it looks. Then after using my figure for scale, I figure 3 abreast atop the beast platform. My plan is to have like someone controlling him from the center. Those tusks there, I thought, man, it'd be cool to have chain wrapped around so the driver can control the beast, and then maybe a couple of, I don't know, archers or spell flingers on the side. I'm going to grab my Q-tips, those really cheap hollow plastic ones. They work really well for a nice chain fence, and I've done that before. On my Dragon Mountain. I'm going to do it here for this basket. Just a little hot glue, and attach your Q-tips trimmed to the height you want. Hold them for a little bit so they get that nice position. I don't want it nice and straight up and down. I want it to look a little wonky, and then have them flared out a bit for miniatures with swords and weapons in their hands. Then a little super glue and those little jewelry eyelets in the top. There's enough room to put one more board on, so I do. And then I take this opportunity to use some of those Q-tips so that it looks like there's some iron tubing going from the harness all the way to the back of the platform. And this really looks like the platform's weight is in fact resting upon the beast. Really cool. Very small detail, but it really helps sell the craft. I string the chain through the eyelets, and then I decide to do some steel plating along the bottom edges of the basket. And this is one, for the look. It ends up looking amazing. But two, to reinforce these very delicate fence posts here with the chain. They're just so flimsy. There's no way they're not coming off. So these steel plates here, they help sell the look of a ramshackled orc or goblin warbeast. And they also reinforce the craft itself, make it much more sturdy. Then I mentioned I wanted the person in the middle to control the beast, so I glue a large, almost mast, and this is going to have hold the chain attached to the beast's tusks. And to do that, I just super glue, use that accelerant, and then wrap the chain back and around the tusk, and then pull it up. And I'm going to do that to both sides. And then I decorate the basket with more of those studs. Finally, I built him some weapons. I wanted him to have a shield, so I did like a planked shield, almost like a castle door that he tore off. And then in the other hand, I didn't record it, but I have this really cool kind of bladed fist weapon. And finally, this beast must hide his shame. My goodness, sir, you cannot just walk around with that thing. So I put a loincloth with some chain, and then put a little PVA glue and spread it on my cheesecloth there, and it just works perfectly. Looks great, and now we can look at the beast and not blush. Ooh. Oh man. I flock the base with some craft sand, and then I take this bad boy outside. I hit it with a black primer, and this is my attempt at a zenithal highlight, which is once it's primed in black, you hit it with a bit of a misting of white from the top where a sunlight might hit it. And this is to add a nice base coat that's going to create some natural shadows and highlights when you start adding your color. I'm going to use a spring green, and these are craft paints, apple barrel. This fella, I'm really excited. I know I'm a terrain channel, and this is a figure, but I'm going to call him terrain as well because he can hold a ton of figures on top. And how epic would it be for your players to get into a fight with someone on the basket on top of the beast? Oh my god, my mind is spiraling with story ideas. How awesome is that? I go back in with that same spring green with a little black in it to darken it up, and I hit certain parts. There's some armor plating on the beast that I would really like to see two-toned. I go in with a burnt umber, hit all the wood, and then I'm going to go in with a gunmetal gray and just hit all the plating, all the strapping, the fence posts, the chains, and his claw weapon as well. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for checking out the video and watching it, at least this far. I really appreciate it. If you like it, don't forget to smash that like button. It really helps out. And if you want to see more content like this, please hit subscribe and share it with your friends and family. It helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. With the colors down, it's time to throw down my homemade black wash. And I'm going to hit the whole darn thing. It's going to get into these wood pieces and into the wood grain that I put in with the rasp and make them look fantastic. It's going to dirty up this gunmetal, these panels in particular, give them an aged look. And then it's going to go in, it's going to darken this really bright spring green, and it's going to fill in all of the cracks and crevices of this surprisingly amazing dollar store sculpt. It really is a nice figure. I pay particular interest to the face. It's got some teeth in the sculpt and some little eyeballs, and the black wash really helps these details pop. Finally, once the wash dries, I'm going to go in and I'm going to dry brush. I'm going to dry brush my wood with a honey brown, which is going to lighten things up a bit and create a nice wood grain look. And then I'm going to take the same spring green, hit it with white, and do a greenish white dry brush on the muscles and plates and figurature of the Warbeast himself. This is going to make all the details pop. You're going to really, really enjoy that dollar store sculpt. And then finally, you could do it with a little watered down orange, but I'm going to use my rust effect from Army Painter, and I'm going to apply it to certain areas on the metal pieces of my figure, in between the plating, along some of the chain, just to add some pops of color. He's very green, he's very brown, he's very gunmetal, and these nice bright punches of rusty orange really help break up the monotony of the color scheme and sell the fact that this is kind of a cobbled together rusty iron. Then it's on to flocking the base. I use my white PVA, spread it all around, and then hit it with my turf flock. And then once the turf flock, the excess gets tapped off, I'll set it aside, let it dry, and then once again go back in with my PVA. And this time I'm going to lay some static grass over my turf flock. This is just going to create a more dimensional looking field or grass flock, and I really want this guy to look amazing. I'm so happy with how he turned out. I want to give him every chance to wow and stun people when he hits the table. So with that in mind, I turn to my static tufts. I've got a sheet of them. I opt to go with the brown, or that orange brown, for the same reasons I really like the rust. These little pops of color look amazing against the overall similarities of the rest of the colors. Here he is, shaking his little tush on the catwalk. Oh man, he looks fantastic. I'm so happy with him. And you're asking, Broken, what I really need to know is, how many minifigs can you put in that basket, on that massive figures basket? And I'm going to tell you right now, 6. I fit 6 of these awesome little mini goblin figs. They've got the standard 1-inch base, so 6 minifigures. Fantastic. A big boss battle bad guy, and in his basket he can also have another boss. How incredible. I love it. Thank you so much, everyone. As always, like each other, love each other, and craft on.